Welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to brand new video. Arsenal are signing a midfielder this summer. That is confirmed. But Thomas Partey, one of the reasons why Arsenal wanted to sign a midfielder, because it was felt that he's going to be leaving, has actually told Mikel Arteta that he would love to stay at the club. In this video, we're going to be diving into why Arsenal should sign a midfielder regardless of the situation with Thomas Partey, why Thomas Partey staying at Arsenal could actually be an advantage rather than a disadvantage for Mikel Arteta and the planning team, and also what are some of the options that we have apart from Bruno Guimaraes and maybe your usual Martin Zubimendi. There's so many players out there that Arsenal could target. Douglas Luiz, probably you could go for the likes of Romeo Lavia, players that have not been linked with the club but still quality in the market. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and talk to us in the comment box below. One midfielder you would love Arsenal to add to this team to raise the levels. I'm back with Glenn. Glenn, how are you doing? This is the second time we are recording. Make sure you do check out the video we've done with Glenn. It's already out on the channel. And of course, subscribe to his channel as well. How are you, bro?
I'm doing good. Great talk yesterday and today as well. Cannot wait to get into the midfielders. Yesterday, the strikers. It's going to be a busy transfer, and it's the toughest to predict in terms of what we're going to do.
Yeah. Now, Glenn, let's get into it. The decision has already been made. Arsenal will sign a midfielder this summer. More reports are coming out confirming that it's going to be more money in midfield rather than in attack. Of course, Arsenal fans, including myself, including you as well, would have felt that if you go out there and add a quality player, on the forward line, maybe Victor Gyökeres, that would be the level raiser. But Arsenal still think that the level raiser is going to be in midfield, and it should be in midfield. So the decision has been made. One good midfielder to add to be added to the team. Of course, that was with the bag of information that Thomas Partey was leaving. We are told that Thomas Partey is actually going to be staying at Arsenal, or he would love to stay at Arsenal, despite the fact that the club have not actually talked about him or to him to get a new deal. Let's start off with Partey's situation. Look, I know Arsenal fans love him, and we actually feel he's one of the players that should be playing for this Arsenal side for the next 5 years. Him staying and him going, does it impact in any way Arsenal getting in a new midfielder?
For me, I'd say it's a tough one. I think it does. But if he was to stay, okay, it impacts it in this way. If he was to stay and we still have Rice and we still have Jorginho, I'd be willing to get a midfielder, a 19-year-old, 20-year-old that we might speak on this video. For example, Joan Neves. I'd be like, okay, we still have Partey there. They can rotate the minutes with Jorginho, and that is absolutely fine. But I could also say, if he does leave, it will definitely impact it as well, because at that point, I'd feel like we now need an experienced one, the guy who's played now completely. So it will still be one player either way. But the quality of player, the edge of the player would probably change, because if Partey leaves, I wouldn't want like a 19-year-old midfielder to come and depend on in that position. I'd want a more experienced one, plus Jorginho. But if Partey was staying, then I'd be able to get a younger one. But obviously, him leaving does leave a gap. But that would be my answer in terms of how it would impact them. Because a couple of years ago, after Xhaka left last year, I was thinking two midfielders. We only ended up getting Rice and Havertz to play as a midfielder, but obviously has moved to a forward line. So we are still missing something there. So if you sell Partey, if you think about it deeply, it means you're supposed to get two midfielders.
Well,
but I would get one.
Yeah, definitely. I think it changes the dimension of the transfer window. And I think the idea was for Arsenal to get in one more midfielder, and that's why Jorginho signed a new deal. You get rid of Partey, you bring in one more midfielder, you keep it a little bit clean and calm until maybe next summer, when you can reassess the whole midfield situation. The likes of Vieira gone, maybe, or the likes of Vieira, understood their position, and maybe the likes of Emile Smith-Rowe. So Partey could stay. Bruno Guimaraes is one of the players that Arsenal are really interested in. He's going to cost 100 million. Newcastle don't want to sell, and they've communicated to the end treasury of the player, and they've said we're not going to negotiate with any club. We don't want to let him go. So if anyone wants to get him, let them trigger the release clause and then agree personal terms. I think this deal depends on Thomas Partey's departure. Do you agree as well?
I do, yeah, 100%. Now, over since the Wenger days, the 2000s and 2010s, Arsenal were never a team to sign players from the Premier League team. We're
Mm.
always signing players from France, Spain, and all that. But that is something that has changed recently. David Raya, even Willian, Rice, Havertz. We now sign players from the Premier League, Zinchenko, Jesus, and it makes an impact. Whether people like Jesus or Zinchenko or whatever, the first season they made a huge impact. Havertz and Rice have made a huge impact in the first season. You can even argue Rice has made a huge impact in the first season. I feel like we do need that kind of signing. Now, let me answer your question first. In terms of impacting, yes, just exactly as I answered at the beginning, the type of experience. If you sell Partey, you want someone to directly come and
Come in.
someone who's already played in that position for 6-7 years. He's 26 years of age, so I think he would definitely fit that Premier League experience. He would add more qualities, like Partey doesn't really score goals, but Bruno Guimaraes does. He has 15 attacking returns. Now, again, I think another thing they would look at is number 6 and number 8. Does this do? I don't know if they want a player who can play both number 6 and number 8, just like Rice, or they just want a player who's going to play as a number 6. I feel like this transfer window, Bruno Guimaraes would be a huge message, because I feel like we need someone like a Declan Rice in terms of caliber of signing, whether it comes as a at left back, or it comes at winger, or it comes at central midfield, ideally central midfield, or striker, someone like Isaac or someone like that. I think we need someone of that high caliber. Like, wow, Arsenal have gotten this 90 million player from a Premier League team who has the player who has experience. Absolutely great. So I think, yes, it does impact. If Partey stays, we might go for an option who can play as a number 6 or number 8. But if Partey does go, we might actually look for someone who's just going to play number 6, like Jorginho.
Yeah. I think the role of Declan Rice has been decided already. I don't see him, revert back into number 6. I think Mikel Arteta has given him that freedom to replace Granit Xhaka, go forward, create chances, score goals, and he's actually taken the opportunity very well. So I think it's going to be a number 6. Now, reports have come out, especially from Team News and Ticks and Charles Words, claiming that there have been positive conversations. Arsenal feel they are confident when it comes to the Bruno Guimaraes deal. It's not an easy one, but they think they can do the deal either by triggering the release clause, which can be triggered in 3 installments, and that is one of the reasons why we are confident that if Newcastle don't want to negotiate, we can pay 33.33 million across three installments and probably get the deal done. Partey is not here for a long time, honestly. Even if he stays, I think he's here for the next 2 years or 1 year, and then he'll be out of the door.
I actually think he'd leave in January anyway.
Yeah, you most probably. Guimaraes is 25, 26. We're talking about a midfielder who you could use for the next 7 years consistently. A midfielder you could have at the team for the next half a decade or even more. Do you think that Arsenal should do? It would be smart for Arsenal to disregard the Thomas Partey situation, keep him if he wants to stay, but still go and sign, Guimaraes, and probably, look at him as a future signing just to step up when Thomas Partey leaves.
I mean, again, if you look at the squad, that as I've always said, we are competing with Man City and we want to compete in the Champions League.
Yeah, sure.
And if you look like a Real Madrid midfield, they have Kroos and Modric coming off the bench. They have sometimes Tchouaméni starting, Camavinga off the bench. Valverde is there as well as a different option. I think Brahim Diaz, they have so many different options in midfield. And you'd argue, oh my goodness, you can't have Kroos and Modric both in the same team, all of them would want to start and you can't really have one of them on the bench. But I feel like if you keep Partey and you bring Bruno Guimaraes, now that takes it to a whole different level, because the number of clean sheets that we are keeping and how solid we are in midfield, if you add Partey and Bruno Guimaraes on top of that, because we didn't really have Partey last season, if you add Partey and Bruno Guimaraes to that, we'd be absolutely solid. And it'd be, you don't even have to play Partey every day. There's something that you've always said as well, always hear you saying, Partey, every time you see him play, it's right away you feel like he has to play. Even if it's just coming from an injury, I just feel like he has to play because of his quality. But if you have like a Bruno Guimaraes there, you don't have to feel like, okay, he has to play. You can have him on the bench a couple of times. Maybe that can help with his injuries as well. So listen, if we go and buy Bruno Guimaraes because it's installments, that would be great, and still keep Partey, I don't know if they'll be happy from a personal point of view. If all of them would be happy to rotate here and there, and Jorginho to rotate here and there, Bruno Guimaraes sometimes plays the number 8, I'd be totally fine with that. And they would need to understand, like, listen, if all of you guys are here, we're going to compete for all 4 competitions. We're going to win a couple of them. We're going to compete for the Community Shield the next season, the Super Cup, hopefully, the Club World Cup, hopefully. That would be great. I think all of them would like, okay, just to rotate a few times. I'd be happy with that. And again, another thing you've always said, if all of them play 20 plus games in a season,
Yeah.
keep all of them happy. I think that would be great. So I would be happy with him joining and Partey still staying. But again, you have to look at the wages and all that. If it affects all our wages and the team structure and all that, then I'd be happy to have Bruno Guimaraes for that to be the guy to like replace Partey. I think he would be the perfect guy to replace Partey in that position as the number 6.
Yeah, honestly, I think the decision for Arsenal to go for a midfielder has been is already sensational. It's already sensational planning. It's very prudent because they already know that he's not going to be the reliable guy we thought he was going to be in 2019, 2020, when we were planning, right? So it's a sensational move, and I would say Edwin Mikel have done well. I think it's more of replanning rather than a fresh plan, because Partey had to be for the long term. They had signed him for a long term. They looked at his injury record at Atletico Madrid. Doesn't pick up so many injuries. He's such
Yeah.
a clean player. Doesn't pick up many red cards. Doesn't pick up yellow cards. But it's a replan. Now I'm going to say this, and I've said this earlier on today, uh, yesterday. I don't think Partey should be forced out. I don't think Arsenal are going to force out Thomas Partey either. I think it's going to be mutual respect. Arsenal will explain their situation to Thomas Partey. If he wants to stay, then I don't think they'll push him out. If he agrees to leave, I think that's where we might see a little bit of a consensus. Arsenal saying, we would love you to stay, but we want to bring in someone for the long term, right? We want to bring in someone who can give us what you give us, because you're one of the best, but you're not one of the most reliable. Would you push him out? Would you be okay with if it came out that Arsenal have told Thomas Partey he's got to leave?
No, I wouldn't push him out. I wouldn't push him out. He's still a very quality player. It's a tough one because the injuries is the problem. If you would be happy to be on the bench and rotate, I'd be happy to keep that quality player, sometimes starting, sometimes off the bench. So I wouldn't force him out. At the moment, looking at that Arsenal team, I don't think I would say, okay, now we know maybe it's better for Nketiah to move on. I think it would be better for Nelson to move on. But from all the other players, I don't think there's anyone I'm looking at and like, I want to force them out. I want Zinchenko to stay. I want Jesus to stay. I'm of the opinion of, if Vieira stays or leaves, well, if Nelson stays or leaves, well, if Smith Rowe stays or leaves, I want him to stay. But, well, if you can get that money, that's absolutely fine. I don't think we can look at, like 5-6 years ago, there's a time we were done with Ozil. We were like, nah, this guy's not playing this and that. You get him out. There's a time people wanted like Z to leave. There's a time people wanted Aubameyang to leave. Right now, I don't think we have to force anyone out. You've built a very good culture in the team and all that. So I'll not be forcing him out. Now, again, if Saudi Arabia came and said 50 million, we have 50 million for Partey, and Partey's like, nah, I'm not going, then I don't know. At that point, you'd even have to tell Partey, listen, look at this money, man. Look at this man. If you win a Premier League medal, we are going to send you one. We promise. Like, you have to convince him to leave. I don't think I wouldn't force them out, because I think all of the players that we have right now, they've done a lot for us to come to this position that we are right now. So I wouldn't really force him out.
Yeah, I wouldn't really force him out as well. I think it's a decision that all Arsenal fans would agree with. There's no reason to force him out. He's not a nuisance. He's not a player that deserves disloyalty. I think apart from the injuries, he's such a quality player and also a loyal servant and a big Arsenal fan. Now, Guimaraes is one player Arsenal followed for quite some time, and it's why I'm very confident in him. Coming here, because Arsenal followed him even before the days he came at Lyon. Arsenal looked at him. Then we wanted him at Lyon. Then we didn't get him. He crosses over to Newcastle. We were mocked when Newcastle signed him, and the transfer rumors, it was crazy. But
Mhm.
now Arsenal are back in. Castle don't want to sell. They're saying 100 million release clause, or you actually don't get him. Should we should we take the risk? Should we smash that release clause, 100 million payable in 3 installments, and get him in?
Paying 3 installments. Yes, if it's paying in 3 installments, I would get him. I would get him again. Players like that do not become available too many times.
Yeah,
He's a player who's
true.
played in the Champions League for
He
Lyon.
might
He's played
never
in
be
the
available again.
Yeah, he's played in the Champions League for Lyon. He's played in the Champions League for Newcastle. And then the biggest trait at the best ability is availability. He
Yeah.
played 37 games last season. I think he only missed like 5 or something the previous season. All that is very good. Availability is what we need. And if I came across some of his stats from last season. I think he won the most fouls or something out of any
Yeah.
Premier League
Yeah,
player.
he's thrown in the most tackles last season, and he
Mm,
has won more tackles than Lodri, um, Rice, and
mhm.
Edson Alvarez at West Ham.
So those are crazy numbers. If you have that combative midfielder there, and to add to our clean sheets and to add to Rice and all of those players in midfield, that would be great. The only worry that I have about him is the discipline part. We
Yeah.
don't really want to be in a situation where we are 1-1 with Wolves. We're trying to get a winner with 20 minutes remaining, and then he punches someone and then gets a red card, and then we're in trouble. That's the only thing I don't like with him. But to get a player like from a Newcastle to us, because Newcastle have been doing great the last 2 seasons, that will also be another statement. Because again, this is another player who would bring even more hope and more, big things to the team. Because the other players would feel like, yeah, we've brought in Bruno Guimaraes. This is a big signing, big signing. So I would get him if it's 3 installments. I would definitely get him. If they're asking for 100 million straight up right now, nah, because I'd still prefer forward positions and winger first. But if Partey leaves, then it becomes very, very crucial that we get that kind of a midfielder. I mean, that midfield. And if you start 3 million right now, and then you can get like a 70 million striker, that would take us to the next level. I still want a backup for Saka, but I'd be very happy with that. I'd feel like we are ready for next season.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bruno Guimaraes is number one priority in the midfield. Arsenal looking for someone who can raise the levels. And I think Bruno Guimaraes, for me, you talked about his defensive numbers, but also his attacking numbers as well. In terms of
Uh,
creativity, he's created more chances per 90 than any other defensive midfielder in the Premier League. Be it Declan Rice, who has actually, Rice has shifted from some positions that are deeper to more advanced areas on the pitch, and still Guimaraes has created more chances than him.
mm,
That actually shows you something very interesting. He's scored 4, assisted 5 times. Again, there's a 9 goal involvement from a player who's played with a very, I think, say, disentangled midfield. I mean,
mhm.
very different partnerships, very, very young partnerships at times with the likes of Lewis Miley and all the others. And he's done such a sensational job. So
I think
if
I think in
us
all competitions it's like 8 assists.
yeah, sure. So if Arsenal really want to, get that quality, I think we need to do what the likes of Man City and Man United, when they dominated, have been doing. Right? When you tell them
Mhm,
Robert Van Persie, they'll come for him. When they point to Wayne Macaroni, they'll come for him. Carlos Tevez, Babatov, Carrick, they'll come for him. So maybe this is our chance to, to do the same. Just go there and, bully your potential opponents and take players off them, and then go and dominate the Premier League. Now,
yeah.
Guimaraes is a little bit unrealistic because of the pricing, and also because Newcastle don't want to sell, and his release clause expires June 24th. Arsenal might not be able to, maybe to do it a little bit early. It's a big money, it's a big money deal. They take some time. So let's talk about some of the other players on this list, but also some of
Yeah.
the players that you think in that role would actually do a good job. And we'll start off with Martin Zubimendi. So most of the sources think Martin Zubimendi would be a very nice fit at Arsenal. Mikel Arteta likes him. He's been a long-term target for the club. Zubi is just around 45 to 55 million euros. That's where his release clause is actually. So when you compare him to the to Guimaraes in terms of the price, he's
Mhm.
actually more favorable. but of course, he's in the Spanish La Liga. It's a very different league. He's not tested in the Premier League, and I don't think he's got that physicality a player like Bruno brings to the team. But still a quality player. Won't be surprised to see a Barcelona sign him. Won't be surprised to see a Madrid sign him in the future because of that Spanish link, but
Yeah.
also his calmness on the ball. How do you rate Zubimendi? I rate him, but how do you rate him? And would you want to see him in our Arsenal as the best of the midfield and the metronome and the controller?
I like him a lot. I like Zubimendi a lot.
Okay.
Watching him in the Champions League as well, in the league as well. Again, availability, very, very crucial
Yeah.
trait. And from hearing what the outlets have been saying the last 1 year about how Wyatt still loves him and he's going to come to Arsenal and do this and that. Again, he also fits the age bracket. I think it's 25 or 26, 26
Yes,
or
it's
something.
25.
So again, he fits into the age bracket that we have. Everything is great about him. The only things that what you've mentioned, physicality. I think that position, there is no way you can play that position in the Premier League. There were kind of games that you play without physicality. These days, we've built a team of men, Rice, Partey, Gabriel, Saliba, big boys in that midfield, big boys in the defense. So you don't want to find yourself getting dominated.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I want someone who's very competitive in midfield. Like what N'Golo Kante used to be, or what Vieira used to be in that midfield. I don't think Zubimendi is that kind of player. I don't know his record in terms of disciplinary, but it would be a concern slightly to like bring in someone directly from then coming to the Premier League right away and asking him to be the base of that and hold that midfield for us. That midfield is the spine. If things go wrong, you're in trouble. That position that Partey plays and Rodri plays these days, as you say, Rodri and Rice scoring goals. Back in the day, they never really needed to score goals in that position. These days, you have to be able to collect the ball from the goalkeeper, from the defenders. You're basically the link between the goalkeeper and the defenders and the midfielders and the forward players. You get the ball, you distribute it. If you're being attacked, you know how to arrange the rest of your midfielders. You're the one who knows to be in that position in front of the defenders. You have to put in the tackles, the interceptions in midfield. You can do all that, but I'd still be worried about the physicality. What if it comes up against a midfield of maybe in a game where we don't have Rice and we have Zubimendi, Odegaard, and someone else in the number 8 position, and we are facing Newcastle, like let's say West Ham with Sushek and someone else, a beast in the midfield.
Sushek, Ward-Prowse, and Edson Alvarez. That would be a little bit scary.
Yeah, so you don't want to get dominated in terms of that. So you want a player who can be like, listen, 1 game, 2 games, I'm alone, I can do the job. We've seen Rice doing that. There's a couple of games he's been alone in midfield and he'll be like, yeah, I'm still going to do the job. Even if I'm alone, I'm going to do the job. So the only worry would be the physicality and also coming from Spain, how quickly would he adapt? But the rest of his qualities, I do love him. And if I still allows him and see something in him, go for him.
The thing for me with Martin Zubimendi, he's closer to a Jorginho rather than a Thomas
I
Partey.
wanted to ask you that. I wanted to ask you, do you feel like he's closer to Jorginho? Because if he is closer
Yeah.
to Jorginho, I don't think we need 2 midfielders like that.
Yeah. He's closer to Jorginho more than Thomas Partey. I think his game is about reading events before they happen, and then implementing a strategy within a very short period of time. But then also, I think his strength is in taking care of the ball as opposed to winning it back. Now, I don't want people to think that he's not a good defensive midfielder and he doesn't win the ball back. He actually is. Last season, but one, he picked up 12 yellow cards. So you can see that there is some defensive work he does. And it's more like your Joao Palhinha, obviously. We'll talk about Joao Palhinha. But I think it's more closer to a Jorginho. And I think Mikel Arteta, with what we have seen, he wants to dominate. He wants to bully. He doesn't want to, come out on top. He wants to bully teams. He wants to, dominate teams and suffocate them. So I think Martin Zubimendi, who is so good at, recycling the ball, would have a much better chance, at signing for Arsenal than for me than a player like Amadou Onana, because I think with Amadou Onana, he's a different kind. We'll talk about him and maybe, the likes of Yusuf Fofana. So, for me, again, I won't be surprised if Zubimendi gets to some point and is strongly linked with Arsenal in this summer. It might not happen because I've been told that he's one of the players that actually are waiting for Xabi Alonso, that he loves, Xabi Alonso a lot. And next, the next Xabi Alonso job could be at Real Madrid. And we're hearing that he might actually be heading to Real Madrid. But of course, there is nothing confirmed on that. So
It
if you're,
depends.
yeah,
It depends on his background as well and his Spanish
mm,
background. Now,
yeah,
there, as you said, quite like technical players in midfield. Even Xavi, I don't think even people look at Xavi as a defensive midfielder. He used to play there, but his
yeah,
work was, distributing the ball and
yeah,
all that. That's why when someone like a Busquets comes into that Barcelona midfield, people don't even notice him because people are all about
yeah,
the flair and so
yeah,
brought up in that environment of looking up. I'm very sure if you ask him which players you look up to, I think he would say Xavi and those kind
yeah,
of players in
Busquets, yeah.
midfield rather than saying a combative midfielder like a Vieira or Roy Keane in midfield. So you're absolutely right in terms of that.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say Bruno Guimaraes to Arsenal. Right now, that's a 4 out of 10 for me. And Martin Zubimendi, I would say 4 out of 10 as well. Where would you rank those two?
I'd say in terms of their chances to join,
Chances to join.
the chances to join, I'd say Bruno Gomes 5. I would have said 4, but 5 because of the installments. Maybe that could be something that attracts us in terms of finances. So I'd say 5, and also the Brazilian connection with our players and our
Yeah.
sporting
And
director.
Edu.
Yeah, and then for Zubimendi, because it's so similar to Jorginho and Jorginho is staying, I'd say 4.
Yeah, I would say 4 as well. Now, Joshua Kimmich is available. Reports came out of Germany that was in March, claiming that Joshua Kimmich has 5 teams that he would love to join if he leaves Bayern Munich this summer, and there is a huge possibility that he leaves, especially now with Vicente Company being the next manager there. There is a big possibility that he actually leaves Bayern and then he moves on to another club, possibly through the Premier League. So among the 5 clubs, Arsenal are named, but of course Barcelona is there, Real Madrid is there. I think there was the Manchester City as well. Kimmich brings experience that Guimaraes and Zubimendi might not have because he's 28, 29. And that experience saw Bayern Munich, I would say, I would even go ahead and say easily S against, over Arsenal in the Champions League. Not so many goals, not a humiliating performance, but their experience allowed them to go past us. And the goal is scored playing out of position. Not that position is like he was born a right winger and then converted into midfield. But his versatility, his leadership, his winning mentality, his winning record. Is there any reason why he wouldn't take Joshua Kimmich at Arsenal?
No reason at all. We've been following Kimmich since he was like a kid, making his
Yeah,
debut at Bayern Munich, and he's grown. He's been around players like Muller and players like Lam and players like
Martinez and yeah,
Lewandowski, Martinez, and all of those guys. So he's learned a lot of things from the rest of the team and also the mid players who's played in midfield. I don't think he got to play with Kroos.
no, he didn't. He didn't.
So, and he's a player, as you said, he can play right winger, he can play right back, and he can play midfield as well. Again, versatility is something that Arteta absolutely loves in the team. You're absolutely spot on in terms of experience. The reason why I lost that game, I feel like it's experience. They
Yeah,
have the experience. Even if we had better players, they didn't believe that we had better players than them. But even if we had better players than them, you still look at players like Kimmich. Now, when people are saying, "Nah, this is Bayern Munich team it's crap," Arsenal should be beating them 5-0. I was like, I don't care if they lost to, some other team in the cup competition in their place, in their third in the league table. I was looking at that team. I was like, Kimmich, he's won, the Champions League before. I look at that team. I look at the defenders, the goalkeeper, Neuer, Sane, and you're like, this is not a team you're supposed to be beating 5-0. There is
yeah,
no chance. And Kimmich was one of the reasons I was looking at Bayern as it's a team that can definitely eliminate us. Now, it's a no-brainer at all. If Kimmich is available, especially on a free or something, even on a cheap deal, if they would ask for money, if they signed a new deal or whatever, I think it would be, now that would be a statement signing. Not yet 30, 29 years of age. I think that's a signing that a team like Liverpool or Man City can look at it like, Arsenal have brought in Kimmich from
yeah.
Bayern Munich. Arsenal have never been that kind of team to do that. Now, I think the last time was probably
It
bringing,
would be it would be reminiscent of when we signed Partey.
signing party from Atletico. And before
Yeah,
that, I know Aubameyang was a good signing, but the signings of Oh my goodness, Arsenal signing Ozil from Real
Yeah,
Madrid.
yeah,
What
yeah,
what is the reason of him leaving Madrid for Arsenal? Sanchez moving from Barcelona, those kind of teams. We've never really been buying players from those kind of teams. I know he bought Odegaard from Madrid and stuff, but I'm saying a player who's been playing there for years, is captain the team, all that is a proper lead in that team, and then we go and sign them from Bayern Munich and from all those guys. We've never really done that. So this would be a player that you should send messages to the other teams, and he has a lot of qualities, including set pieces. Another defensive kind of player who can take set pieces, takes corners, he thinks, and free kicks for Germany. He's an international player on top of that as well. Plays a huge role for Germany over there as well, and he's a player that if he's in your team, is not going to be on the bench. He's
yeah.
definitely going to start for Germany. Definitely going to start for Bayern. I think if he goes to on yesterday's video, asked me if Lokonga would start for Liverpool or Man City. If you were to ask me the same thing with Kimmich, I tell you, yes, he would start for Liverpool for sure in that
It
midfield.
starts.
Man, yeah,
Kimmich starts for every team in the Premier League, excluding Lodri's Man City.
he would start in that midfield position. So he has experience, as you've said. The leadership is he's been playing since how many years has he played?
I mean, he's 20. I was surprised that he's 28, 29 right now. So he's played
Yeah,
for the
because
last 11 years,
it
11,
seems
12
like he
years.
played. Yeah, so the experience is definitely there. The only thing is, I feel like I know he's played international football, but is there a part of you that feels like he's never really tried a different country? He's always been at Germany. I remember someone like Gianfranco Zola. He used to play for Parma, and he was also played for Napoli in Italy. And then when he was moving to Chelsea, people are like, nah, this guy has always played for Italian teams. I think he had played for like 4 or 5 Italian teams. They're like, nah, he's not going to fit in. He had played for a lot of years. I think he was around 30 as well. Kimmich, could people look at it like the same? Kimmich has played a lot of years. He's never really come to England. He actually has never played anywhere else apart from Germany. Could
Germany,
they
yeah.
look at it like he has never experienced anything outside there? Could it be a culture shock, or you just ignore that in terms of experience?
Well, he's played 9 Bundesliga seasons,
Mhm.
and 8 times of that he's been a champion. So when when you think about that, it's more of a learned behavior that he plays at Bayern and he plays in Germany. So a change of environment would actually be a little bit harder because you know it means a lot to adapt to a new environment, especially when you've been at a club like Bayern that seemingly it wins the league every single year, and seemingly it has to be in the Champions League every single year, and it has to at least go to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, every single year. What I
Yeah.
would say with Kimmich is when you think about him and when you look at what he does as a player, if you surround him with the right minerals and the right resources, he's going to do it in every single system across the globe. I think he's just perfect for modern football. Just perfect for modern football.
I mean, if you feel that way, I do agree. Okay, there's a part of me that feels you never know,
Yeah.
but signing a player like a Zubimendi, you'd know, okay, it's bringing the quality to the team. Fine, we could help us get across the line. But I think if you look at someone like a Kimmich, you'd be like, oh, this guy's gotten across the line so many times. This one is going to add experience. Is going to bring in the winning mentality even more to the team. I think it would completely take it to the next level. And another thing I like as well is injury record. Not
Yeah,
too
sure.
many injuries.
Yeah.
Availability is the best ability. So Kimmich, from those ones that you've spoken about, Kimmich, Zubimendi, and Bruno Guimaraes. If you're to ask me, I'd have Bruno Guimaraes and then actually, yeah, I'd have Bruno Guimaraes and then Kimmich and then Zubimendi.
Actually, I would have Kimmich on top. I think he would be like a game changer. If we talk about ceiling raisers, if we talk about level raisers, Kimmich for me is a real level raiser. Like if I have Kimmich and I go against Chouameni, Bellingham, and say Valverde, I think I would feel confident because I have a 30-year-old guy there that can be a cheat code. Modric and Cruz have been a cheat code for Madrid for a long time. Just because they know how the thing is done. They know the road, right?
Yeah,
They can close their eyes and can still navigate through.
yeah.
Now, I don't have we do not have we are not linked with so many other very experienced players in the position. The rest of the players here are a little bit younger, but I'm intrigued to for us to revisit the discussion on Amadou Onana. So Everton would be in a situation where they're willing to sell and listen to offers now. We know that, financially they're in that position. But when it comes to Amadou Onana, I am really confused with what he does, especially in light with what Arsenal need. Because for me, he's more like a traditional number eight, box to box, loves to drive. He's got those long legs. He's got those little cameos in midfield. I don't see him as a player that wants to be, to stay centrally disciplined, waiting for the likes of Odegaard to caress the ball and do whatever or everything with their stuff. I think he wants to be more involved, in every single pass that happens, rather than watch and predict what's going to happen when Arsenal drop the ball or when Arsenal need to switch play. So for me, he's a typical number eight, and he would be more of a downgrade, a massive downgrade on the number six in terms of winning the ball
Mm.
back, in terms of positioning, in terms of discipline and willingness to actually, work for the ball and win it back. So Ahmad Onana, probably 50 million. Do you think that is a deal Arsenal should explore?
I would not pay 50
I,
million
I,
for
I
Onana.
wouldn't. Yeah,
Two key things that you've said. If you're looking for a number six from Everton, you might as well go for Idrissi Ganagay. He's the one
yeah,
who's an expert in that
yeah,
position. He wants to
yeah,
sit there and make
yeah,
tackles and make interceptions.
yeah,
And the other key thing that you said is cameo. Now, if Onana was a cameo guy, 20 minutes, come on, bully, the other team, 20 minutes, 25 minutes here and there, no problem. You're signing him for 25 million, come to the midfield, you come off the bench, I would take him for 22 years of 22, 23 years of age. I would take him for that kind of price. But Onana come and be our main guy, 50 million in that midfield. I would not take him at all. I feel like, as you've said, it would be a downgrade. Now,
mm,
it was different in January, just like we talked about when we talked about strikers. In January, if you had to ask me for Solanke, I was like, I was trying to see. I was convinced that those goals from Solanke, I was like, this is the next Thierry Henry. I was like,
yeah,
because I was desperate. I was desperate to get a strike. In January, you're also kind of desperate to get Onana. So you're like, okay, can we get a midfielder because Partey's out? Can we get a midfielder to have rights? At that time, no problem. These are the kind of signings Solanke and Onana that you'd make in January if you feel like, okay, these guys can come and do the job for us for 4 months, but you might need to upgrade at the end of the season. Physicality, perfect. I remember there's the time they beat us 2 seasons ago and spoiled for us the title. I think it was February
one
of
nil.
the 1-0, the header. I
Yeah,
think it was Tarkowski. I don't remember who
yeah,
scored. The Sean Dyche's first game at
first
Everton.
game. Yeah,
There's a part where he got the ball on Anna and he just completely ran past Odegaard and someone else. I don't remember who it was. He just left them behind.
yeah,
And I think maybe those were one of the games that Esther looked at and he was like, nah, we need someone like a Declan Rice in that
yeah,
midfield to
yeah,
combat that because we can't just get past like that. And I've also noticed over the last couple of years, Pat is not the best in terms of ball recovery.
yeah,
Like when someone passes him, he doesn't catch the player.
yeah,
He's gone. Like he struggles a lot to get back. I don't think he has that pace to get back. Onana might have that, like the big legs and he can have the power to get back. But that is not the only thing that you're looking for. That's why I'm saying if you've already done the job 2-0 up, you can bring in Onana from the bench, 25 million signing, fine. But in terms of him to start the game, there's a lot more that we do in terms
yeah,
of pressing, in terms of controlling possession. I don't know how good he would be in terms of controlling the position in midfield, in terms of knowing his position. You have to keep a position well. That is still something that Zinchenko kind of struggles with, even if he plays as a left back. Sometimes he gets into midfield and confuses the position sometimes, and he gets caught out. That's something that yes, it can be worked on. But again, we don't really have time to work on too many
yeah,
players,
yeah,
especially in midfield. I don't think you can be working on midfield and taking risks. You need someone who can take you to the next level in that position. Because Man City have Rodri; they went for 70 games without losing. There's a reason. Rice. Another thing we mentioned yesterday, having a player like Rice and Rodri, people who have out of 50 games, they have 2 bad games.
yeah.
I feel like if Onana was on your team, he'd have at least 10 bad games.
Yeah,
Some games you'd be like, oh, this game.
he's a player that I think you'd rather let the opportunity go. I mean, even if he's
Mm,
available, you can afford to let the opportunity go. Actually, I would see it in this way. Arsenal get Guimaraes, and Newcastle get like Amadou Onana. I would see it in that way. If Newcastle can go and get a very good number six, maybe if they can just look at this list, maybe go and get a Romeo Lavia from Chelsea, and then and Ahmad Onana and maybe Sandro Tonali, that would be a very good midfield. But I wouldn't
Also,
really say he's a fit for us now.
also in terms of the level he's been playing. Now I know he's been playing in the Premier League. I know he plays for Belgium internationally. He's played a few games, but the level. I know Everton plays in the Premier League, but the level, the players we've talked about, Kimmich, World Cup, Champions League, level, always fighting for the top. Zubimendi just come from a Champions League season at Real Sociedad. They're always fighting for top five, top four. Even Bruno Guimaraes, Leon was fighting for titles, even recently at Newcastle, top four and all that. I don't think Onana's ever experienced that kind of level, because since he joined Everton, they've always been like 17, 18. So whatever it takes to keep them up could be different from what it takes to compete in the Champions League and compete in the league. So compared to the other players, all the other players are competing for things. And I think in terms of the level Onana's been playing at, it's a level of, can we get 30 points?
Yeah. Now, another player that confuses me very much, and his style of play wants to look like Onana's, but he's a sensational bowler. Yusuf Fofana. He's played against Arsenal in the Emirates Cup. He bullied it. He absolutely bullied it. And
Yeah.
he's got the engine. That is the word I wanted to get. He is got the engine. But where exactly do you see him? Is it 6? Is he an 8? Would you think? I mean, available for 25 million. Monaco are saying he's one of the players that are leaving. Would you consider him maybe?
Now, from what I've seen, it's going to be cheap. Around, I think I saw 30 million euros or
Yeah.
something. I think Arsenal and AC Milan want him.
Yeah.
Both teams. Now, again, it's a very difficult one. Now, for him, I'm not going to talk about him like I did with Onana and Zubimendi and all those people, because I've watched them more. I rarely watch the French league, but from what I saw and from what I read and from what I wrote down, I liked the fact that like Onana, unlike Onana, he can score goals and assists. I think he had 8 goal contributions in the league, 4 goals and 4 assists. And another thing I loved about Yusuf Fofana is discipline. I looked at that and was like, 33 games, 3 yellow cards. I was like, this is great for a defensive midfielder who can also play a bit forward, a bit central midfielder there. I was like, this is great for in terms of discipline and stuff in that midfield. That it fits into our team in terms of that. But we are talking about statement signings. I think it's slightly better than Onana, but I'm asking myself. I think it's like a Jorginho in terms of positioning. I think it's almost strictly defensive midfielder. And yes, sometimes you just want a player who's going to just do that job, just do that defensive midfielder. Because I remember when Man City had Fernandinho the latter parts of his career, he's just coming on 30 minutes. He just knows his job. Central midfield, nothing else. Don't need to do anything else. Now, that could be our Fofana. He absolutely bullied us in the Emirates Cup.
Yeah.
And went to penalties, right? That game. I think we went all the way to penalties with them. I won
Actually,
that game.
he scored the first deflection in the game.
Like it was a couple of years ago. I can't remember the exact how the goal was, but for that kind of price, Onana, you said 50 million. I'm like, nah. If you can get Fofana for 30 million euros, I would get him. He's also played for France. Played for France, so a bit of experience there. And I mean, you've signed a couple of very good midfielders from France before and from those countries, so I wouldn't be top of my list at all. Now, a Fofana signing, as I said, I'm not an expert on him like the rest of the players that I watch on a regular basis. For Fofana, if we signed Joan Neves and you signed with Fofana as well, I'd be like, okay, this is good. This is now 60% and 40%, 100%. We have the option of getting a Bruno Guimaraes or Kimmich, 100%. That does it, the one signing. But I feel like if you sign like a Fofana, you can get someone else. And I've also had people saying, people who watch the French league, that people are overrating him too much. So you also have to kind of listen to that. But he wouldn't really be my main signing. If it is like a second midfield that you've signed,
he wouldn't be a main target as well for me. He wouldn't be the main target. Now, we both have players that we would love if Guimaraes doesn't sign, if we don't get Mendy, we all have players. And you've talked to me about Douglas Luiz. Again, another one that I think is closer to Jorginho. More game control, more midfield control, an accurate passer of the ball. What do you think? How much would you spend on him, and why do you think he would be a perfect midfield controller for us?
Every time Kamara and Douglas Luiz missed a game, they Aston Villa fans were crying.
Yeah,
Like
true. Yeah,
they
true.
beat us without Douglas Luiz, and I saw the Aston Villa fans in the previews. Aston Villa fans were saying we don't have Douglas Luiz. Odegaard is going to do all the work. He's going to have a lot of space. Now that indicates that they feel like he can do a defensive job, especially man marking. Sorry, he can do that job. So yes, you're right. In terms of this guy can score from corners directly. So in terms of assists and scoring and passing the ball here and there, penalty taking and all that, he is very very good. But I feel like he has a bit of defensive qualities as well in midfield. Again, the perfect age, 25, 26, the perfect age in our team. He's played in the Premier League before, and I think he fits into our team. The thing is, we need to strike a balance. Either we have, if we sign Zubimendi and you also sign for Fana, you have one who's technically gifted, another one who's competitive. Fine. That's what we have right now. We have a mixture. You have Pat who's going to just deal with everything in midfield. Jorginho can pass the ball, and Rice who can do a bit of both. That's a good balance. Now, in terms of Douglas Luiz, I feel like he can balance it, and he can also play as a number 8. He can surprise the opponent in terms of positioning of the midfielders, and I think it would work for us. I absolutely love him. I wanted us to get him the time you're linked with him. I think it was 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, that was the summer of 2022.
The time there was leaked photos of him coming out of his house with this car, and Arsenal fans were like, it looks like his guy.
I don't know how we missed him. I think that was the same summer where we were crazy about Yuri Tillemans.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the time I wanted him, because I feel like he's made a huge impact in that Aston Villa team. I think I'd go as far as saying without Douglas Luiz in that team this season, they don't make top 4.
Yeah,
so I think he's had an impact.
Especially his earlier run contributions, and I think at some point I had him in my FPL team at some point.
Yeah, because we can do attacking things as well quite easily. So for me, Douglas Luiz, I would definitely take it now. 2 seasons ago, I think around 2021, I did a video for dream signings from every single team. Declan Rice was my dream signing from West Ham. By the way, I need to get that one in. We finally got him. I didn't know you're going to get him 3 years later. Trossard was my dream signing from Brighton, and we also got him. My dream signing from Aston Villa was McGinn. I used to love McGinn. I was like, yeah, I'm like, this guy, like, just a bully in midfield, he can go forward a few times and score goals. But later came to realize there's some deficiencies here. There's some things he can't do, and a bit slow in some situations. Douglas Luiz, I think, would do the job for us. Now, if you had to put him on the list with Kimmich and Bruno Guimaraes, I'd still probably take Kimmich and Bruno Guimaraes ahead. I would have Douglas Luiz on the same level as Bruno Guimaraes in terms of that. But how much would I pay for him? I'd say 50 million.
50 million? Yeah, that's
a little bit reasonable.
Obviously,
is that what it accepted? Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, Villa are not going to sell him because of the FA Champions League. Personally, my choice, if we got none of Guimaraes and Zubimendi and Kimmich, would be Joao Neves. I like Joao Neves. I think he's a smart kid. I think he's one of those signings one of those players that just crop up on the transfer market, and you never ever see him again. What a time for him to come on the market, with Rodri also still on the rise as well, because Rodri is just like 29, 30, I don't know. I think it's going to be there for the next 4 years. So Man City might not actually want to jump onto a Joao Neves right now. If Arsenal could, I think he would be a sensational strike, a sensational.
Speaking of Man City, I think Luiz has actually played for Man City before.
Yeah, Douglas Luiz has played for Man City.
He's
been linked with City, by the way. He's been linked.
Yeah, I think he's a player that would take very quickly.
Yeah, sure. Now, these ones, I just want you to let me know your thoughts on them a little bit as we wrap up. Manuel Locatelli.
Yeah, we were linked to him 4 years ago, not now. Ever since, I think, did he reject us? Do you think he rejected us?
Yeah, he rejected us from Sassuolo to move to
Juventus. I think that was after the Euros. You're linked to him and you're watching him at the Euros. Nah, I wouldn't take him now.
Okay. Adrian Rabiot.
Experienced, played for PSG, played for Juventus, played for France. Very, very experienced. Massively underrated, yes. I wouldn't take him as the main person. If you're signing Joao Neves, and then also signing Rabiot? Yes. Because
Okay.
Klopp did something similar. He signed a lot of midfielders at once. McAllister, Endo, Sabozlai signed all of them at the same time. If you want two midfielders, that can only happen if Partey leaves. Then you get Joao Neves and Rabiot in terms of young and also experienced. Why not?
Frankie de Jong.
This is a player that, I know he's a good player. Every time I watch him, I see he's a good player, but he's not a player that I'm like, I've never been like, oh my goodness, for De Jong is absolutely out of this world.
Yeah.
And I always see people talking about him like, this guy, he needs to come to Chelsea. This guy needs to come to United. This guy, maybe I've just not watched him in complete detail, but he's played for Ajax, he's played for Barcelona. There's definitely qualities there. He's definitely going to bring qualities to your team. There's a reason all of those teams always want him. Going to bring a bit of experience as well. I mean, if you had to ask me if he joins Arsenal, yes, I would be happy if he joins Arsenal. I'd be very happy, especially a player that has been linked to all of those teams. I would take him. He has the qualities in that midfield position. I think well spread qualities, I'd say, in
Yeah.
terms of attacking and defending as well. And as I said, we need to like spread out the balance. I think that Douglas Luiz has the same as well in terms of balanced forward, maybe 60%, 65% in terms of doing things going forward and 35% defensively. I think that would be a good balance. So De Jong, yes, I would take him.
Yeah. Now this is a crazy shout, and he's a player we've not seen almost for a whole season, so we don't know what's gonna happen. Romeo Lavia. We wanted him last summer. Decided to leave Arsenal and Liverpool to go to a Chelsea that has signed a Moises Caicedo. Maybe because of the money, I'm not really sure. Maybe because of their project. We will get to know in the future. Would you think now that they have Maresca there, they're going to need a clear route? Arsenal should pick up on a Romeo Lavia again.
I'm always concerned. People say when people get injuries at young, and they start growing up, they disappear. But the problem is, he's not picked up one injury this season. He's had like 3 or 4 different injuries. That is a huge concern, and it starts affecting you that early. For me, I think it's a concern. I also don't think I've seen enough. I always wondered like why people wanted to pay 50, 60 million at that age and it's scrambling for him. Because the truth is, if you're playing for as a goalkeeper, as a midfield, and this defender, if you're playing for a team like a team that concedes 100 chances, like a Sheffield United or something, Southampton, and they got relegated, you'll feel like, oh my goodness, this goalkeeper is really good because he's making 10 saves per match. He's conceding 5-0, but he's still making 10 saves per game. I think it's kind of the same as a midfielder. You'd get to see him doing the defensive work, yes, because he'll need to do it, and he'll have the opposition will have a lot of the ball, so he'll get to see all that. But what if he comes to a team that is going to dominate possession? And Chelsea don't dominate possession there. That's why they're looking for coaches who want to dominate possession. So it's completely different. But we've now not seen him for an entire season. I don't think project Atita Save project goes as far as Lavia for now. I'd leave it at Rashford minimum, a maximum. But no, for me, Lavia, no. You'd have to look at him for the next 2 years first and see how he does. But it's a huge risk. Imagine starting a season, fixtures come out, you're playing Ipswich and then Liverpool and then Tottenham, and then we play against Ipswich and Partey and Lavia both get injured.
Yeah.
And then what do you do in the next game? Again, you start looking. And the other thing is, usually people say, okay, you'll just go and buy another one. Nah, with Timber got injured early, and you thought, okay, we are going to go and get another one. But as I say, they don't just sign players. They do study them. So even if someone gets injured, we are going to sign another one next summer, not now. So for me, Lavia, no, you're linked to him. But no, that would not be an answer. Actually, I'd have him probably second bottom of that list, maybe with Locatelli.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for watching the Arsenal, Cossy Arsenal podcast. Of course, we've been talking about midfielders. Arsenal are going in for a new midfielder. Kind of big news, but of course, who is the real deal? That is where the problem is. Edu says he has 180 pages on each and every player that Arsenal are looking at. That doesn't really mean that we shall get it right, because Lokonga and Nuno Tavares, those were not the best deals. But at least we can trust them that the likes of Declan Rice, Odegaard, and the major signings that we have made have been huge, huge successes. Of course, I've been with Glenn. Do follow him on YouTube, Glenn Kitely, Everything Arsenal. Same on Twitter as well. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. with a premiere, and of course we are always on Glenn's channel at exactly midday with a premiere as well. Make sure you do check out the content, and we'll see you right in the next one. Goodbye.